for tuning in again. This week we are with the Passaic County Superintendent of Elections and Commissioner of Registration, Shona Mack-Pollock. As I shared last week, the County Clerk's office is only one of 3 offices in Passaic County that work to oversee elections. Besides the Board of Election, the 3rd office is the County Superintendent of Election and Commissioner of Registration. So Shona, thank you so much for being with us and sharing with the voters on this week's Tuesday Talks. Can you share a little bit more about the responsibilities of your office?
Yes, thank you, Danielle, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And certainly, especially during this most important election season, as Superintendent of Elections, I am responsible for handling and processing all of the voter registration applications that come into our office here in Passaic County. My office is also responsible for processing all of the online voter registrations that are processed through the state, the Division of Elections website, also the motor vehicle applications that are processed when a voter updates their voter registration at the Department of Motor Vehicles as well. My office also handles the provisional ballots that a voter may cast at the polls. If they are unable to vote on a machine, or if they, in the case of this election, if they do not vote their mail-in ballot. Additionally, my office, as the Commissioner of Registration and the Superintendent of Election, I am the custodian of the voting machines, and I am responsible for enforcing all of the election laws under Title 19.
Good. And I think, you know, when people understand what the county clerk's office does, what your office does, and what the Board of Elections office does, they'll see that there are checks and balances created by our statutory responsibilities. You know, if you are the custodian of the machines, my office receives the cartridges from machines at the end of election night, and we tally those results. So there's just many layers of checks and balances built into our elections laws.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to just talk about, in light of today being the deadline here in New Jersey for voter registration, I want to talk more with you about that so that people and residents of Passaic County have accurate information and they know what they need to do if they are looking to register to vote. So how can someone get registered?
That's a great question because, as you know, registering to vote is the very first part of the process, and becoming engaged and actually casting your vote on election day and making sure that your voice is heard, which is so very important. So before you can, I'd like to actually let you know that earlier this year, the legislature passed a bill and the governor signed into law the bill that would allow or make sure that the State Division of Elections offered online voter registration, which is something that's really important because we had, since I've been here as superintendent and even before that as deputy superintendent, so many inquiries by folks who wanted to register to vote online. So in September, actually on September 4th, the state rolled out their online voter registration system. So if you go, and let me, if I can, share my screen with you.
Sure, that would be great.
Screen 2 here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go to VOTE.NJ.GOV, you will see that the state of New Jersey has set up a 2020 NJ voter information portal, similar to actually what you all have done. The county clerk has also set one up in Passaic County. You can go to the portal and first determine whether or not you are registered to vote. This is very important because people may sometimes register to vote, and if you're a married woman, you may have registered to vote under your maiden name. So before you register again or change your voter registration status, it's important to determine whether or not you may be registered under a different name, under a different address. So you can go to the portal, and it's very simple. If you click on the Am I Registered link, all you have to enter is your first name, middle initial, your last name, and date of birth, and perform a search. Then you go back. If you're registered, the portal will tell you whether or not you're registered. If you're not registered, you can also use this portal to register to vote if you'd like to. This will send the information right here. in order to register online, all you would need to have with you is your driver's license number or a non-driver ID card, or your social security number, the last 4 digits of your social security number. It's very simple. The information that you have to complete on this online voter registration application is very similar to the paper registration application, which we're also processing in our office. So you would need to be you have to be, of course, a U.S. citizen in order to register to vote. You have to be at least 17 years of age. And in order to vote here in Passaic County, you would have to have been a resident for at least 30 days before the election. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can.
That's great. Yeah, and since today is the deadline, if someone here in Passaic County has not yet registered to vote and they really want to do that by today's deadline, what should they do?
Well, you can use the online voter registration through the state website, which is VOTE.NJ.GOV. You can also complete your paper registration as long as it's postmarked and sent into my office by today's date, October 13th. We will make sure that you are into the system and you'll register to vote in time for the upcoming general election. Or you can bring it into my office personally at 501 River Street in Patterson. We have late night voter registration tonight until 9 p.m. You can also check locally with your own municipal clerk. A lot of the municipal clerk's offices will also be holding in-person late night voter registration, but you should reach out to them specifically and find out what their hours are.
Very good. And I do want to share, as county clerk, my office will be mailing out ballots to all registered voters. Even these voters that are newly registered through the Superintendent of Elections office, her office will inform my office of those voters, and we will then mail a ballot to them on a rolling basis, so that everyone is able to vote in this November's general election. Just a couple more questions. If someone passes away, if I have a loved one who passes away, how does your office handle that to make sure that everyone is notified and the proper steps are then taken for that one who's passed?
That's a great question, because we've been getting phone calls from people and a lot of inquiries from relatives who have indicated that their deceased relative may have indeed received a mail-in ballot. But I'd like your voters to know and your viewers to know that this is a process that requires some assistance from the public as well. We can only update our records with the information that you will provide us. So we do get weekly updates from the state DHSS. That information contains some voter records, of course, the date of death, date of birth, voter name and information. But if we do not have a complete voter profile or voter information in our records, including the date of birth, we're not able to match that voter's information in the system, and we're not able to delete that voter from our records without confirming that indeed it is the voter. And this is where the family comes in. We're asking, if you do have a relative that passes away, please let our office know in writing so that we can confirm, and we ask that you would provide us with a copy of the voter's death certificate so that we can take that person off of our statewide voter registration system. And we know it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. It's a very sensitive issue, but we don't want to compound the issue by sending sample ballots to the home or mail-in ballots. And if you do receive election mail from a person who no longer lives there or who has deceased, you can have that mail returned to our office. You actually should have that mail returned to our office and inform us that the person no longer lives there. And that would place that voter on inactive confirmation status so that we can confirm whether or not they live in the state or live in the county, or in fact they have passed away.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing this, because I know that this is new information for a lot of people, but it's such helpful information. Your office handles so many things, and I've had the privilege of hearing you speak more about what voting rights and registering to vote means to you. But do you want to just touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. As I indicated earlier, you can begin to register to vote at 17 years of age, but you can't actually vote in the state of New Jersey until you turn 18. I think it's significantly important, especially now for all of our viewers, all of the voters here, to become engaged as early as possible. You need to exercise your voice. Your voice is your vote. And you need to make sure that you are a part of the process. Everything that we have, every right that we value, it all starts at the voting machine, and we all need to be a part of the process. It starts with the local municipal elections, and it goes all the way up to the federal elections. And it's not just once every 4 years. We have primary elections, we have federal elections. At least twice a year here in New Jersey, we have, elections. And it's very important for people to be actively involved in every single election. So many people have sacrificed so much so that we can take advantage of this opportunity. So don't, you have to participate. It's that
It really is. Shona, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for talking about today's deadline and what residents would need to do if they do want to get registered to vote. And thank you for everything that you and your staff are doing. So good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys are working extremely hard. Our clerk is doing a phenomenal job, and you all have a tremendous responsibility in getting all of these ballots out. We have over 300,000 registered voters in Passaic County, and you all are handling it phenomenally. So I appreciate all of your work as well. Thank you.
We're a team, and it's great to see how the team works so well together. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.